The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors. This program may contain obscene, profane, or otherwise objectionable language. Viewer discretion is advised. Hey, greetings from Minneapolis. Coming to you cordless, everybody. It's Monday night, November 3rd, 2025. It's 9:01 p.m. on the East Coast of the United States, 6:01 p.m. on the West Coast, and here where I'm sitting in Northeast Minneapolis, it's 8:01 p.m. Central Time, not Central Daylight Time. I changed the clock, so it was really weird, but that's another story altogether. I'm Jim Peters. Welcome to another edition of Jim Peters at Night. This is episode number 290. Mark your scorecards. We're going to be doing, it looks like we're going to be doing our 300th episode the day before Thanksgiving, or our last show before Thanksgiving. That's what it looks like right now. So, our guest tonight is Corinne Cliford. She's an independent Washington, D.C. journalist. She's a member of the White House press pool, and she's extremely engaging. We taped this afternoon, and I think you'll enjoy this immensely. That's what I think. All right, so tomorrow is Election Day in several places in the United States. I'm going to talk about that later in the Gymcast. I just thought you'd want to know that this only happened in the last 2 hours. Trump has endorsed Cuomo for mayor of New York over Sliwa, the Republican, because it's very unfortunate. And the New York Post came out with an editorial saying the same thing. Sliwa does not have a chance of winning. And believe it or not, the latest polling shows that in a two-person race with Sliwa out of it, hypothetically, Cuomo would win. So, and I'm sure this must pain Trump to do this, and it must really pain Sliwa. It's like, the Republicans, but it's true. It's unfortunate. It's a very unfortunate thing. It's a very democratic city, and a Republican, especially right now, is not going to win. That's just all there is to it. So I kind of feel for Curtis, especially because he's kind of a beloved figure in that town, and everyone loves him, and he'd probably make a really good mayor too. But it's not going to happen this time. He's run several times in the past, if I'm right. I just want to read to you what Trump posted on Truth Social, and this is only, like I said, within the last couple hours. With a communist at the helm, the city will be a complete and total economic and social disaster. This is a choice between a Democrat who has a record of success and a communist with no experience and a record of complete and total failure. Yeah, well, it's not even, the guy doesn't have any experience doing anything. Matter of fact, I think in the best case scenario, if he gets elected, is that nothing will happen. I doubt he has any talent to actually accomplish anything. I mean, I've talked about this in the past. You have a lot of people, you have some very, very smart people. Well, I think Barack Obama is probably a good example, an extremely smart individual who has no talent for actually accomplishing anything. And I don't mean long-term in his life. I mean, literally executing stuff to run the wheels of the government. Not many people can do it. Trump seems to have that capability. Bill Clinton had it. Ron DeSantis seems to have it. It's a short list about manipulating the government bureaucracy to do what you want it to do. I doubt Mamdani has that. I really doubt. I don't, it might not be as big a disaster as people think, if only because he won't be able to get anything done. For that reason alone. But we'll see. I had to pass that on. More of that in the Gymcast after in part 2 of the show after the interview. But right now, in 12 seconds, here's Corinne Clifford. Stay tuned, everybody. Joining us from her home office, from her studio in Washington, D.C., Corinne Clifford independent journalist extraordinaire. Hi, Corinne. How you doing?
I'm so grateful to be talking to you today. It is going to be a wild week. New
Yes,
York
it is.
turned
Listen,
communist.
it's-
Virginia is in trouble, and California is in trouble as of tomorrow.
yeah, well, let's get right to that. Tell us about Prop 50. What's that all about?
I mean, Prop 50 is what the Democrats want to control the Republicans. The truth is that I am from California, and
Yeah,
California is Republican, but the vote in California has been so corrupted for so many years. And so that's what I'm concerned about. Of course, everyone needs to vote no on Prop 50, but it will probably win because the elections are not fair in California right now. We're going to do the best we can for the governor's race next year. But right now, there's an ex sheriff of Los Angeles County. His name is Alex Villanova, and he's one of my, acquaintances and friends, and he is going to really educate me how the powers that be mess with the elections in Los Angeles. So I'm very concerned about the vote tomorrow in California and New York and Virginia, because we have not amended anything properly. We need to go to paper ballots and hand count the vote with the
absolutely.
receipt for who you voted for.
Right. And then my problem is the Democrats say, well, there's no voter fraud. We don't need to do this. Well, then why not do it? It's like, if that's the problem, why not do it? What's wrong with paper ballots? Well, no, we can't do that. My real thing with Prop 50 that I want you to address, the kind of hidden thing in this whole thing, is they say it's going to cost $250 million to make this change. And that's absurd. How come everything government costs $250 million? Literally just to move from papers around. That pisses the hell out of me.
It's because what happens is that you have these contractors, and they all get the government contracts, and they charge an arm and a leg. And they're usually the friends of the governor, Gavin Newsom, or they're the friends of the Democrat person in charge of, Congress or the state assembly. It's usually their friends, and that's how they all get kickbacks. So you go into public office and you're worth $500,000, and you leave and you're worth 5 million. And that's the problem. You get kickbacks. And so our FBI needs to start exposing that. I've been trying to do it as much as possible, but it's very dangerous because you have to get the banking records and records that I don't really have access to. And that's how they make the money.
So how did you get into this crazy business? Did you grow up in Pacific Palisades?
I grew up in Pacific Palisades, and all my houses burned to the ground in Malibu and Pacific Palisades in January. But what really politicized me, what really threw me over the edge, is that I was a stay-home mom. I raised my daughter in California and Colorado, and to go to Duke University, she was forced to take 3 vaccines. And this is the first time that she ever really lied to me about anything. And so that politicized me because the government made my own daughter lie to me about vaccines that she had to take in order to go to college. And that's when I said, you know what? I'm moving to Washington, D.C. in January 2021, and I'm going to fight these battles on the front line of history. And guess what? January 6th politicized me. All the Christians that were arrested under the Biden regime, there were like 2,158. There were so many Christians being arrested under the Biden regime, I lost count. And now that President Trump has taken back the Oval Office and I have the White House press pass, I'm just so grateful to be in Washington, D.C. But it was ruthless, 21 to 25. It was harsh.
Yeah, hey, tell us about being in the White House press room. What's that like? Now I know that physically it's a very small room, correct?
Physically, it's a very small room. There's about 55 seats, maybe 57, 58, if you count some of the seats on the side, some extra seats. And the White House Press Correspondents Association has taken control of the press room for decades now.
Yeah.
And they don't allow independent journalists like me to get the real membership, the voting rights membership. So basically, I didn't even apply to the White House Correspondents Association. I just applied to President Trump's team directly, and they know me, so they gave me the hard pass. But I'm very respectful about the mainstream media, because if you do anything wrong, they try to write you up, they try to get you banned from the White House. Basically, there's 55 seats that the mainstream media, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, can sit in, the funded media like Politico. They can sit in the seats, and then the new media like myself, I've been there since March, we have to wait 3 to 5 hours and stand on the sidelines. Well, guess what? CNN and all the other news agencies have been putting all of their camera equipment on each side of the seated area. So it's harder and harder for us to find space. And so it's just like a full-on war zone in the press room pretty much every day, because mainstream media is really trying to push us around. And it's not First Amendment free speech with the mainstream media. They think new media like myself shouldn't be there, but yet my questions are just as important as their questions, because my questions focus on America first, whereas their questions focus on other countries, or their questions are some wacky news narrative that the billionaire that owns them wants them to ask. So it's so important to have new media like myself asking the America first questions, representing MAGA America Trump supporters like all of us. That's what's so important. And, sometimes I do disagree with President Trump's administration, but if I can tell President Trump what's going on, he really gets it. And he's really working 24/7 for us.
Well, first of all, Corinne, nobody agrees with any politician perfectly all the time. That just doesn't happen. And there's nothing wrong with that either. But what you said this offhand, I want to get back to this. Do you think these wacky questions from the mainstream press are driven by the owners or by the wacky stuff in the minds of these reporters? I mean, maybe you don't want to say, I understand, but still, I'm wondering.
It's definitely driven by the owners, because
Oh, it is, huh?
wacky Antifa liberal people in the press. I do believe, honestly, that some of them could be deep, deep, deep state plants, because not the same people sit in the same seats every time. Sometimes there's brand new people and we're just like, where did that person come from? And then we never see them again. And they ask a crazy, wacky question and then we never see them again. So I think that it's really the owners who actually, of the different news agencies, who actually encourage their employees to ask these questions. Now, maybe sometimes there are independent journalists who decide not to do what their owners tell them to do, and then
Right.
they'll get fired and they don't show up again. And
Yeah.
the bottom line is that when you spend time with President Trump in Air Force One, or when you actually get to ask him a question when he's, in the press room, or if he is, boarding Marine One, I'm telling you, most of this mainstream media really likes President Trump. And I think they're scared to tell their wacky liberal bosses that they actually like him, because I've seen even Caitlin Collins from CNN be a little bit nicer to President Trump and more respectful. I think she's beginning to enjoy him and his administration.
Well, that's really interesting. See, that you told our viewers something I don't think they know, but part of that must be the fact that I mean, this administration is so frickin' transparent. It's ridiculous. I mean, actually, they're over transparent. I mean, Trump can't shut up. And I mean, if that's your job, I mean, that must be like glorious, you know? I mean, Caitlin Collins can't bitch about access. She can't.
Well, I cover the HHS, and Secretary Kennedy, when he first came to the White House a couple months ago, he gave Caitlin Collins like the exclusive interview, because she's CNN and allegedly she gets more views than we do. But when I unite with other independent journalists who are on the right side of history, we can get 20 million views. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
oh
So
no, I
the bottom
totally
line is that, yeah, the bottom line is that, like, we can get more views probably than CNN does, because I don't even know if their views are real or fake. But after she interviewed Kennedy, I said to Caitlin Collins, do you regret taking the vaccine after you talked to Secretary Kennedy? And she was really kind and like hinted to me, but she's never going to say that in public, because she'll get fired. She has to do the line that her CNN bosses make her do. And so I really think that a lot of these journalists wish that they were independent like me. I think that News Nation is changing their mind. I think that members of the different, like CBS just got bought by Larry Ellison. So I
yeah,
think it's going
right.
to change a lot. I think that a lot of these people are realizing that President Trump is so fun to talk to, because he will talk and talk and talk. And if he thinks he's wrong, he'll change his mind. He can
Yeah.
change his mind. He goes with the flow and he evolves and he changes his mind. And that's why he likes to do his Truth Social posts, which are really important to understand, because Google is censoring President Trump's Truth Social posts.
Oh, well, you were talking. I mean, we were talking before we started here. So you're having trouble with Instagram. My show's been banned on Facebook. I just and for the apparently because I say bad things about climate change. Apparently, that's a seems to be what it is. They've never even told me, but they this happened about a year ago. They banned me, and then I wrote them. I wrote them. I said, like, what's up here? What's going on? And they said, oh, I'm sorry. We're sorry. This was a mistake, and they reinstated my account, but not the page for the show. So the
Exactly.
show was permanently banned. I wasn't. So it's like, oh, that's great. That's fantastic, you know. And now I basically said, fuck them, and we don't have to worry about FCC rules here. So I swear occasionally. So forgive me. I'm sorry if that. I don't think that it's going to insult your sensibilities. But no, I'm starting to think Meta's freaking evil. It's like,
Meta's evil, and the problem is that even inside the different buildings in Washington D.C., it's like Meta. There are Antifa liberal employees that seek us out because we get on all the hit lists, and then
uh-huh.
they censor us, and then they like let us go a little bit, and then they censor us, and Mark Zuckerberg can't control his employees, but he needs to. Even Elon Musk on X, I am so shadow banned. It says I get 150 views on X. No, that's not even possible. I can get 5 million views on X, but I think that there's Antifa employees in each one of these companies that target us, just like I'm going to the Department of the Interior today. Let me tell you, President Trump hasn't fired anyone yet. He should be firing 500,000 people during this federal government
Yeah.
shutdown. We don't need 500
And
employees.
I'm waiting for them to do this, and they haven't done it yet. I don't. It's been a month. I'm kind of surprised.
He
I
needs
thought
to
that was the plan. Well, you were talking about journalists here that you thought are getting banned. But Corinne, do journalists ever get fired? I mean, it seems like no one ever gets fired ever. It's like, I mean, you see the craziest, wackiest stuff that people are putting out, and then you're thinking, well, that's a fireable offense. Well, apparently it isn't.
And
I don't
my
know.
really good friend is suing Politico right now for $150 million. It's going to cost a lot of money. Like he had to put 100 grand retainer down. But the bottom line is that, they released text messages. They made up crazy stories. They said he sexually harassed someone. That was his girlfriend. And then it's going to get worse because on Chat GPT and all these AI systems, they could just say crazy stuff about us and we're going to have to sue. So the problem is that our viewers need to know that we need to have a lot of cash ready for lawyers, because if
Yeah,
Instagram banned me over Charlie Kirk and over President Trump since September 26th. They just unbanned me today because I said I'm going to sue you. And I told them my lawyer, and they finally let me back on today. But I just lost a whole month. I lost millions and millions of views. I'm demonetized. So Meta is a problem. And we do need to have lawyers write these people letters, because all they care about is if they get sued. But then a lot of the lawyers that I interview say, oh, well, they're a private company. They have the right to violate the First Amendment. That is not true. Our founding fathers would throw up if they saw the First Amendment free speech getting violated by Meta, by X, by any of these social media companies, because the whole reason to be in the United States of America is for the US Constitution. So you do need to have a lawyer on retainer to write these people letters in case they try to censor you. But it's worse than that. They need to understand that we may have to take this to the Supreme Court, because our founding fathers didn't say, oh, private companies don't have to censor. No, that's not what's going on. Private companies can't censor. We have free speech in the United States.
well, it isn't even just that. For all practical purposes, so the social media companies and platforms have become basically the virtual town square. I mean, the idea of the freedom of speech is that you get in the town square and stand on a soapbox and say whatever you want. And now these companies, even though they are making money off this, they have essentially become the public square for discourse. I mean, they just have. And well, you said something that reminded me of something. Oh, about uh, uh, suing these companies. So, like, I just was reading that Robbie Starbuck is suing Google because they said he raped a woman, or
I know
the
Robbie.
the AI said he raped a woman.
Yes, Robbie Starbuck helped me get back on Instagram, and he is in the war of a lifetime, and we all need to help him. They said he raped a woman. He didn't rape anybody. It's ridiculous. So we've got a really big problem. He was just in Senate last week. Senator Cruz is helping him. Different senators are trying to help him, but there's nothing they can do. Once they say that about you, what do? There's nothing
Yeah,
you can do. You have to sue, and that's why this is getting really dangerous.
right.
And
The
we
only
need President Trump to really do an executive order, but then you need your governor, you need everybody to jump in because they're going to lie about us.
Uh-huh. The thing that I would think, and so I have no experience doing this. I haven't done this yet, but and you're on the fringes of it, so maybe you would know. I would think that, and maybe it's different because I'm in Minneapolis, because I'm not in Washington D.C. I would think it'd be fairly easy to get lawyers to do this because of the payoff, the potential payoff. I mean, if you sue Google and win, you're going to win about 150 million bucks, probably. You know,
Exactly.
and if you're
It's
that's
not.
$50 million for a lawyer, for a law firm. Yeah, I would think that would be incentive, but is it? I don't know.
Well, I need to find a young lawyer who just got his law license because they make you sue in California. And so it does cost money, but I need to find a young lawyer who wants to build. And I'm going to find this, believe me, I find
Yeah,
everything. I'm an investigative journalist. A young lawyer who wants to build his reputation, then he wins this lawsuit, and then he's the number one lawyer in the world. Because bottom line is that this has to happen. This has to go to the Supreme Court because these companies are thinking that they have some type of rights because they're private. No, that's not true. Our Constitution is for everyone. And that even goes to
well, on
anyone.
top of that, Corinne, it's just plain it's defamation.
Yeah.
It's not.
And
It
yeah.
doesn't even have anything to do with free speech. I mean, if your AI says you raped somebody and didn't, that's defaming. I mean, there's no way of getting around that.
And that happened to one of my business partners last year, the stupid sheriff, Chad Bianco, who's running for governor of California, said that one of my business partners, Vem Miller, tried to kill President Trump. Vem Miller would never hurt anyone. And he got completely set up, and he's in $100 million lawsuit with this idiot Chad Bianco, who's running for governor of California. So we are going to see how that goes, but they just keep you in court. And then the judges, you got to make it to the Supreme Court. And that's why it does get expensive. So I'm looking for a lawyer, basically, and anyone can text me. My phone number is all over the internet. You can text me, but I want to find a young lawyer who just got their law license, who's willing to fight, and doesn't need to get all the money, because normal lawyers will charge you like $100,000, $1 million. No, you just need to fight and win, and then you give them 33.3% of the money because you
Right.
win. Yeah,
Yeah. So if you win, not only do you make your career, you're set for life
yeah,
financially. That's
yeah.
why I would think it wouldn't be that hard to find somebody to do this. I
No,
mean, I'm
it's
sure
so hard.
there's a
It's
lot of people establishment who say, I don't want to do it because the Democratic Party will come after me. I'm sure there's somebody somewhere who says, "Yeah, I'll do that. I'll take that risk." Christ, how hard is it? And Corinne, let's talk about. I have a lot of people on the show who talk about the science and tech of AI. So what other all this bullshit aside, what do you think personally? What's going on here? I mean, the problem is that you just touched on this, is that AI makes stuff up. They just out of clear. I mean, it's not even just like defaming stuff like that. Scientific theories, formulas. I mean, it just makes crap up. And
And
so,
that's yeah,
what do you do
that's
about
why
that?
I don't use Chat GPT, and I tell everybody, you better not use AI because I'm a journalist. I can't use AI to do my stories. I make AI. I get my stories into AI. The problem is that there's going to be a point when AI is going to be hooked into our bank accounts, into our credit cards. It may not be in our lifetime, but eventually it will be, and you will get wiped out like they do to you in China. The second they wipe you out in China, you're homeless and broke on the street corner and or in prison because it's illegal to be homeless and broke. So the
Right.
bottom line is that we are on the verge of being a totalitarian police state. And that's why you and I have to get the word out as much as we can to everyone. We want to go back to the small towns. We don't want to use AI. I use AI as a joke, but I do in real life, in real time, unedited, raw footage. That's what I'm famous for. And that's the kind of journalism that I stand up for. I don't edit, and I'm not trying to make it look attractive or good. When I film President Trump, it is unedited, it is raw, and sometimes the microphones don't work. Sorry, but it's
Yeah.
real footage. And I can tell you that I was boots on the ground, heels on the ground, and I was there. I can tell you what happened, but we are in so much trouble. And so I'm really worried about that because in the future, they're going to lie about us.
Oh, the future does look frightening. There's just no way around that. And you're right. We might not live to see it, but I'm very concerned too. I'm just like over reliance on technology, and lose the human factor. And people ask me all the time too, "Well, you edit your show, right?" No, I don't edit this. No, we do this. It's raw. Whatever happens, happens. And I think not only that, I think people find that attractive too. We live in such a pre-processed world. It's like Yeah, okay, so yeah, and you're absolutely right. Sometimes we have technical problems, well, too freaking bad. So, I picked this up, on your ex Twitter, machine feed, then you mentioned this just, as an offhand comment. Did your family was part of the Declaration of Independence?
So my family history, when I trace my blood lineage, so my great grandfather was Benjamin Rush, and we left England. We left England to found Pennsylvania, and he signed the Declaration of Independence. I'm a daughter of the American Revolution, and I only say that because my family would not have fought in every single war. We did the Revolution, we did the Civil War, we've done every war. Clifford, Rush, my whole family's fought in every single war. We wouldn't have fought in every war if we didn't think that free speech applied to Meta and X and all
Yeah,
these ridiculous
right.
companies. Anyone who says that they don't, that free speech and the US Constitution doesn't apply to multinational corporations is, pardon my English, stupid. And so this is the message we need to get across. And we're probably going to have to make it all the way to the Supreme Court to really get this message across. But these companies propel this ridiculous myth that they don't have to abide by the US Constitution. Everyone in the United States of America, including the migrants, including people visiting, you need to abide by the US Constitution because it's a felony to violate the US Constitution. And we haven't used that enough because we haven't trained the lawyers how to do that. So I'm very interested in training the next generation of lawyers on how to really stand up for the US Constitution.
Well, there's another thing too, Corinne, and that is, I mean, I've been involved in the tech world for a long time. This goes all the way back to the 1990s, the Section 230 of the Digital Communications Act, about the fact that these platforms can't be held liable for what other people but that's under the assumption that they're like you said, quote unquote platforms and not publishers. But right now, they're all publishers. They've way stepped over the line of this whole thing, and no court wants to bring them back. That's what really bothers me. They're so obviously publishers at this point. They are filtering the information, and by filtering it, they're publishing it. I
And
mean,
they
if they were just letting anybody post anything, which I personally think that would be fine, even though people say, "Oh my God, look at all the evil stuff." Yeah, people are evil and they're going to post stupid crap. They are. If they just let people post, I'd be totally okay with it. But they don't. They're filtering the hell out of it. You
Well, the
know?
problem is that a lot of these evil posts are bots and they're fake computer systems that the Chinese Communist Party and other evil foreign countries have paid for to try to destroy us. And that's why following these chats, unless you know the people in your chats, is very, very bad. But also, too, Instagram and Meta, they make a lot of money on pornography, which is not okay. So you can have pornography where they make money on it on X and Instagram and Meta,
Yeah.
but yet they can't have free speech that we talk about very important things. And if we're in England, do you realize now in England, if you make a post that is anti-Muslim, you could end up getting arrested. So I can't even go back to the
I
country
know.
that my family's from right now because I could get
Right.
arrested for one post on X saying I don't want a Muslim mayor of New York City, which
Right.
could happen tomorrow.
Right. They're arresting in Britain an average of 35 people a day for posting anti-religious stuff. And okay, whether you agree or not is beside the point. You should have the ability to say that. You should,
That's huge. I mean, we are in so much trouble because guess what? Tomorrow, New York is probably turning Muslim, communist, fascist, socialist. And if I go there, I mean, we could get arrested. So I can't go to the UK. I can't go to China. I can't go to New York City. I mean, this is getting out of control and it's really dangerous. And that's why I really love to tell people to go to sat123.com
yeah,
and make sure they have the satellite phone because everywhere I go, I'm going to the Department of Interior today. I bring my satellite phone because only 10% of the world is even covered in cell phone towers. I have to be able to communicate in case I get arrested for something stupid, in case a fire happens. I got stuck in the Palisades fires in January. In case an emergency happens, I have to be able to use the satellite phone from Sat123. And then you want the bulletproof backpack. I walk around with my bulletproof backpack. And guess what? And then you're going to want the Faraday bags to put your keys and your credit cards in because people are stealing your credit cards and your keys and everything like that. So I love Sat123, and I just want everyone watching and listening to really go to sat123.com and buy whatever you can afford to buy, because the customer service is phenomenal, and you want customer service in the United States of America, especially if you buy, Elon Musk's products. You definitely want the customer service, because if you buy it online, you're not going to get the customer service. Sat123 has a phone number, 877-943-6383, that you can call and talk to people, and they'll give you help.
Now, I just want to point out, for full disclosure here, Corinne, you're a paid spokesperson for Sat123, but they're not paying us to have you on. You're on here because you're just goddamn interesting. That's the reason. And
Yes.
also, what? Go ahead.
And the reason that they pay me, how else am I supposed to make money? I'm independent. I
Yeah.
have sponsors.
Oh, no, I have no problem with this.
Yeah,
No
they do
problem
not
at all.
pay you. They don't pay anybody else. But the bottom line is that I only go with products that I use myself and
Right.
products that I care about. If you had invested in gold 1 year ago, you would have doubled your money. So
That's right.
I really care about people, and I'm a daughter of the American Revolution, and I really want people to use products that are good. But I have a very small voice because I'm banned and censored. So thank you for letting me come on your show and tell you all this stuff, because there's so much news
Oh, I
happening.
do have a question regarding Sat123. Do they carry the Starlink products? I don't quite
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, because you are right. I mean, the satellite internet is basically the future, because it covers everything everywhere. Also, I kind of, people think that Elon Musk is like out of line or stupid or nuts. Do you know how hard it is to launch these satellites? And they're launching like 400 at a time. I mean, the Starlink has thousands of them, and they're only about the size of a softball. I don't know if you know this. They're really small, But anyway, I find it incredible.
I mean, Elon Musk is such an incredible person, no matter what anybody thinks about him. And I love the fact that he has so many children. And I know some girls that have had children with him, and he's a really good guy. But yes, he did cause a lot of problems in Washington, D.C., but I'm sure he'll be coming back. But we need him to focus on his companies, because
hold it. Corinne, he didn't cause a lot of problems.
Well, okay, so Elon doesn't. Okay, truthfully, Elon does not believe in. He likes to have. I mean, how do I say this? I love Elon Musk, and I don't want to piss him off, but the bottom line is that they still do shadow ban on X, because he does have a lot of Antifa liberal employees on X. And he doesn't like the tariffs so much. I love the tariffs, and I believe in the tariffs, and now I'm a tariff specialist, and we're making money with the tariffs, but he didn't really like the tariffs. And also, he wants the electric car benefits across America, which I don't really like electric cars. I like gas power cars. Even Bill Gates is admitting that the whole climate stuff is a hoax. So
Corinne, don't even get me started. Like I said, that's the reason I got banned on Facebook. I have two social missions with the show. One is that want to let everybody know the extraterrestrials are here. That's a done deal.
And say the extraterrestrials are here. That's funny.
They're not even coming, Corinne. They're already here.
Wow, I think they came in through New Mexico. My godmother was Shirley MacLaine, and she would always tell me the aliens are in New Mexico.
Oh, they are. That's probably true. My only claim is that they're coming here. I know that. But
they're coming to DC, or they're coming to America, or they're already here.
They're already here. And the second thing is that climate change, or human-caused climate change, is a joke. That's complete hoax.
I mean, I wish we had global warming. I'm freezing right now in DC. I need global warming.
But that's the thing. We have global warming, but humans aren't causing it. Global warming's real. That's the kernel of truth in this whole thing. Global warming's real, but humans aren't causing it, or at least not in any major way. And so because of that, I get banned from Facebook. That's the reason. And so that's
Well, you need to have a lawyer write them a letter. But Jim, how do people find you, Jim Peters? Where do you broadcast your show, on Rumble?
On Rumble, YouTube. It's Jim at Night everywhere, and I'm at jimatnight.com. That's a website for this too. The fact that Bill Gates came out and said that this is nothing did not surprise me. It's like he's a man of technology, and at some point you have to. The problem, Corinne, is that that the evidence says there's no that humans aren't doing this. The fact that all this stuff about climate change was completely made up. I mean,
by the Aspen Institute, no less. I was there for some of those meetings.
Yeah,
that's funny. I think the Aspen Institute made a lot of this climate stuff up.
Huh.
because they wanted to raise money for
Well,
501(c)(3)s
well,
on.
that's the thing. It's a grift. It's all about money. The
Yeah,
whole thing's about money, you know?
it's a grift. It's a grift, and a
You
lot of
founded you
are.
founded the Informed News Network. What's
Yeah.
that?
Okay, so I founded the Informed News Network this year in 2025 because, I was part of a lot of other news networks that ended. And I just really wanted to found something that was my own. I control it, but when I got banned on Instagram, my whole website got hacked.
Mhm.
So I know that my banning on Instagram is some type of Antifa group because there was an Antifa permitted protest that was in DC in front of Union Station since about May 1st of 2025. And right before I got banned on Instagram, we got the whole thing taken down. Me and a kid named Cam Higby and his whole team. He got 20 million views. I got 1.6 million views. Then I got banned on Instagram. He got on Fox News, but he's a young kid. So, everybody loves him. And then President Trump thanked him. But I've always been behind the scenes, and pretty much in front of the scenes, I just get banned and censored everywhere. But these Antifa groups are funded by deep state and by the
Yeah, they
CCP
are.
and by crazy billionaires that
Right.
don't want us to have our freedom. And so that's why I'm just so grateful President Trump is investigating them. And I really feel so much safer in Washington, D.C. This time last year, I was getting detained by every police agency for like 55 minutes because they couldn't arrest me because I don't do anything illegal, but they could detain me and go through my phones and stress me out, in Congress and federal court, all over the place. I was getting detained. So if President Trump hadn't won in January, I might be arrested and in a prison somewhere.
And yeah, but I mean, like you said, it's basically legal harassment. They'll hold you for 55 minutes and not an hour, and so and just to piss you off, to do
And
nothing
people don't
else.
realize how serious that is. It's so serious. So you believe in aliens? I love that because I covered the congressional inquiry into aliens and the congressmen on that committee. I'm not going to say names because I really love all of them. They are traumatized for life. And they said the same thing. The aliens are here, but I think that they're amongst us. I don't think they're going to attack us. I think they're
No,
amongst.
they're not
And
gonna attack us.
I
They
think
have
they
no reason to do it.
I think they came in through New Mexico. And I think Jeffrey Epstein, I think that's the reason the Epstein files are not being released, because I think Jeffrey Epstein was doing a lot of experiments on his ranch in New Mexico that nobody wants to know the truth about.
Oh,
And so
oh
it's way
man,
deeper.
that is the most I've never heard that theory, and that is incredible.
Yeah, so
That he
study that because
yeah.
I think that's why the Epstein files have not been released because he had his whole ranch in New Mexico. Why would a billionaire have a ranch in New Mexico? I only know the truth about New Mexico from my daughter's father was born in Roswell, New Mexico in 1967. Why in the world? And he always tells me he's an alien. Why would one of the richest men in America be born in Roswell, New Mexico in 1967? And then, of course, Shirley MacLaine used to always tell me my godfather was her manager. She'd always tell me, oh, you got to come to New Mexico. The aliens are there, blah, blah, blah. New Mexico is a very serious situation. And I think that's why
It
the
is.
Epstein files are never getting released because he had a ranch there and he was doing a lot of top secret stuff with respect to that.
That's a fantastic theory. I've never heard that before ever. You've educated me today. I really appreciate it. Hey, I want to get back to this thing about the people funding Antifa. So I've asked a lot of people on this show this question. George Soros, and let's say guys like him, but let's use him as an example. How does a guy who comes from Hungary, escapes the Nazis, comes over to America, uses capitalism to make a fortune, and then wants to shut down capitalism? I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. His motivation makes no sense to me whatsoever. Can you explain this to me? Do you have any insight on this at all?
I'm going to explain it to you, but it's very deep and no one talks about this stuff. And I really shouldn't talk about it because I have a vested interest in it. But I have met George Soros. I've met his son, Alex, in Sun Valley, Idaho. And what's going on is that the super rich are living forever and ever and ever because they do stem cell research,
Yeah,
because they know how to use the right peptides. And so
right.
I'm not going to get into this too much, but there's going to be a super rich class of people that may live for a very long time. And they want to make sure that if they have to live for a very long time, that they're going to have a slave race. So they want to get rid of all of us and they want to enslave us so that they can be the king of kings and that they can figure out how to have their genetics and and their heirs be able to live forever with them and control the banks, control the politics, control everything. And so basically what they want is they want a civil war to happen in the United States of America, which is that if you see how divided we are, that potentially could happen. Of course, people like us, we would never want that to happen. But that's what the rich of rich want around the world, so they can control us and they can create a slave race. They want the super poor and the super rich. What we need to work on is the middle class.
Right,
Class
right.
C, but the super rich are doing this because they're not telling you the truth, that they're finding ways that they can live for a very long time.
Well, we have right now, wouldn't you say we almost have what I would call a cold civil war? It's like,
I
it's like we're
honestly
not
have
people aren't
soft
shooting at
call it
each
soft.
other, but
I
what was
call
that?
I call it a soft civil war because I
Yeah,
think it's
right,
banned and censored everywhere. We
right.
are in a soft civil war. It only takes 30% of the population, which is what we have fighting with each other. Just walk into a grocery store, walk on the street corner, go in front of the White House in Washington, D.C. Just walk around, go to New York City tomorrow. Oh my gosh, I'd have to have a bodyguard. I'd have to have a Proud Boy bodyguard me if I went to New York City, or an Oath Keeper. The bottom line is that it's going to get really dangerous in places like New York City. They can arrest you for any reason and they can just throw you in jail forever. They can have
Yeah.
COVID camps. They can do whatever they want. They can falsely accuse you. And so we are going to be in big trouble. So we got to be careful where we go.
And this is just how do I put this? This is a lukewarm milk toast version of what you're talking about. My mother's 101. She just went into an assisted living facility. She's in incredible health. She's still walking around kicking people's butts all over the place. But the woman who runs that facility, I was talking to her, and she told me, she said, "Well, it's really weird. So my mother's 101, and she said, and she's the oldest person in the facility." And this woman told me, she said, people, well, how did she put this? People who live over 100, virtually all of them, regardless of their status during their life, run out of money because no one expects to live that long. No one plans to live over 100. So almost all of them end up broke. And so you're talking about these billionaires. It's kind of the extrapolation of that is they don't want to be broke if they're going to live to be 150 or 200 years old. And
Well, Larry Ellison is the richest man in the world. He's surpassed Elon Musk. He owns the island of Lanai. So what we're having a class of people who are so rich, they know how to change their blood out. They know how to live longer. And
right.
they want to control us. And so that's really what's going on. And so they're finding ways where they can get rid of us, basically. But I'm worried about your mom in this older person's home, because what if they do something to her there? I get really worried, because what do they get out of it? You know what I mean?
I appreciate that, Corinne, but the thing is, it's not a nursing home. It's what they call at least here, an assisted living facility. So
Okay.
she has an apartment. She's independent. The only thing is, if she needs help, she can call and get it. And
Okay.
she does. She tells me she has one person who comes and sits in her apartment while she takes a shower in case she falls down. That's all. So she's
So wait,
that's
okay,
it.
what was her key? Did she not drink? Did she not smoke? What was the key? What did she do?
Well, she's quit smoking years ago,
Okay.
and she never drank ever, and we have good genes in our family. That's
I
it.
think it's the not drinking, because President Trump doesn't drink, and he is like the Energizer Bunny.
Yeah.
President Trump wears all of us out. He is constantly going and going and going.
I don't see how he does it. I really don't.
Well, he doesn't drink and he doesn't smoke, and he leads
Yeah.
a very healthy life.
Yeah. Well, I could say I did the same thing, except I got fat. I'm not that fat, but I'm fat enough. I mean, you don't want to hear about it, Corinne. My mother's real thin. My mother never gained weight ever.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so your mother was really skinny, and she's 101, and she's a whippersnapper.
Yes, she is. That's exactly the word you used to describe her.
What state is she in? What part of the country?
Minnesota.
I mean, she could live for a long time.
Yeah,
And
well, I should
super
point this out. Not my family didn't sign the Declaration of Independence, but I'm a first generation American. She's not from the United States.
What country?
The former Yugoslavia.
And they know how to eat healthy. And
yeah.
You know what Secretary Kennedy eats? He eats fermented vegetables and red meat, which I find to be so interesting.
Well, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of my diet too, just because I like it. And you're right. The diet I had when I grew up was fantastic. My mother's a fantastic cook. We had a huge garden. It's like you don't want to hear about me. I'm
And
here to
that's what we need to go back to. We need to go back to small town living. We need to
yeah.
go back to farms where you have your own animals, you have your own water source. We need to go back to real America. We don't need to be in these big toxic cities anymore. Why
No,
would
we
anyone
don't.
want to do that? We need to go back to small town living, small towns, and we really need to take care of each other and be America first. And we need to go back to making products in America. So you buy your soap, you buy all your products in America. That's what we need to do. And that's what President Trump wants us to do.
The fact that we gave that up is ridiculous. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The fact that we make almost nothing here. I mean, it's starting to come back, like you said, you know, and oh God, I lost my train of thought. It's terrible.
Well, believe me, I could talk for hours and hours and hours. I could keep us going for days
I
and days
know, same
and days.
here.
I
I
just think that tomorrow the races in Virginia and California and New York are going to be game changers. But I'm telling you, it's election corruption in these states. And if we don't change it by the midterms in 2026, where we go to paper ballots, a receipt for who you voted for, and hand count the vote, we are going to have major problems in 2026 in the midterms.
I know, I know. No, Corinne, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I hope you come on again.
And
I'd love to have you on regularly.
here's me
You're
trying to
good at
talk.
talking.
I love to talk and anything you need, and I always have an interesting point of view.
Yeah, yes, you do. That's right. I agree. I agree. You take care. All right. We'll see you soon. All right.
Bless you. Thank you. God
Our thanks to Corinne Clifford. You know, when you run a talk show, it's good to have people that like to talk. And our hats, my hat goes off to our booker, Kimberly again, because my God. Um, so it was seriously, we weren't off, we didn't finish taping that interview within 5 minutes. And I already asked Corinne if she would come on a regular basis. And she said, yes. You probably noticed we have a stable of about roughly half a dozen people we have on once a month, mostly because they're really good talkers and I can depend on them all the time. And so we're gonna like introduce her to that world. And also, I brought this up before too. Speaking of that, our old friend Larry Newman, who's been on the show for years. Well, if you go back to the Conk News days, I've been doing this now for 5 years, and he's been on the entire time. He usually came in once a month. Panel member, very interesting guy. He's the Bigfoot investigator and from Missouri. He had a stroke last week, and it's not life threatening, but I guess he's not doing well. So our prayers are off to him. Get better, Larry. Really appreciate it. We love you. I'll just come straight out and say it. I do. So here's the Gymcast for tonight. This is Monday, November 3rd. And so you're wondering what's going on. Well, there's an election tomorrow. I don't have to tell you that. But you probably don't know because it only happened a couple hours ago, if even that. It might have happened around 7 o'clock Eastern time, is that Trump endorsed Andrew Cuomo for mayor of New York, which is amazing because it's blowing off the Republican Curtis Sliwa, who is very deserving of it. I mean, and, people who know Sliwa, he's been a fixture in New York City for 40 years, and he's beloved, But it's really sad. If I lived in New York, I would vote for him. That's all there's to it. I would, but it's not a Republican city. I mean, it's not like 92% Democrat, and there's no way he's going to win. The fact even that Rudy Giuliani won years ago as a Republican is amazing. That shows how badly the city was doing too. That they were willing to give a Republican a chance. Unfortunately, Sliwa has no chance of winning, and I hate to say that. I really does. It pains me, but he doesn't. And so, if you're going to stop Mamdani, you have to vote for Cuomo, and you basically have to hold your. There's even a political cartoon where people are holding their noses. They have, clothespins on their noses, and they're going to vote. Cuomo's not a fantastic candidate. He isn't. Not to mention the fact he hasn't run a very good campaign either. He lost in the primary to Mamdani, and he shouldn't have. And so now we have this supposed mess. Now here where I'm sitting in Minneapolis in the heartland, uh, this is not getting anywhere near the national attention that New York's getting because, frankly, New York is the center of America. It just is. But we have this very similar thing going on here. We got a guy named Omar Fateh running for mayor. And the unfortunate thing on this, and David Strom has written about this, our friend in Hot Air extensively, and because like me, David is sitting in Minneapolis. Uh, the entire Democratic Party in Minneapolis has been taken over by the Somali community. It has. And the problem with that is, that's not a problem in and of itself. The problem is that all these people are corrupt. Somalia is one of the most corrupt nations on the planet, and they brought all their corruption over to the United States with them. So then you have Ilhan Omar, who's been accused, not by me, but by the major newspaper in Minneapolis, of paying people to vote for her. She's been accused of that. And it's been rumored for many years. As far as I can tell, I mean, I have to say allegedly, but it looks like that's true, that she's paid people to vote for her. And then this Omar Fateh guy, who's a member of the Minnesota State Senate, he wins the endorsement of the Democratic Party here for he wins their endorsement for mayor, and then it turns out that they cheated. The Democratic Party, this is unbelievable. The Democratic Party in Minnesota pulled their endorsement because it turned out in the endorsement convention, in the primary convention, Fateh's camp cheated the election results for the endorsement. Yes, they've already cheated once, haven't even been named mayor yet. Now, unlike New York City, what's happening here, the quote unquote moderate Democrats are putting on a real big fight. Jacob Fry is the mayor of Minneapolis currently, and he's running for re-election. He was denied that endorsement, which normally an incumbent would get. And so there are a bunch of business people in the business community in Minneapolis, which like New York City is an extremely democratic city. As a matter of fact, I'm sitting here and I can't remember the name, our number. Excuse me. Our number, the district number here, but this is one of the single most liberal democratic districts in the United States, where I'm sitting this very minute in Northeast Minneapolis. And if you want to, I'll just get off top for a second. I can't talk tonight. I don't know what's going to happen to me. Northeast Minneapolis is a neighborhood in Minneapolis, and it's more like Brooklyn than any place outside of New York City other than Brooklyn. It has all sorts of things in common with Brooklyn. It used to be a separate city. It's on the other side of the river from downtown. It's was considered a dump until about 10 years, 20 years ago, and now it's the coolest place in town. All sorts of stuff like that. It's very, very much like Brooklyn. And Minneapolis politics very much mimic New York City's. And so this character Fateh, who's it's very interesting. He does not talk in his television commercials because the guy sounds like a fucking idiot. I'm just going to come out straight. He sounds stupid, and I think that's because he is stupid. But you have to remember that the single biggest fraud perpetrated during COVID in the entire United States, matter of fact, the single biggest fraud ever perpetrated on the federal government in the U.S. was $250 million, $250 million stolen from the federal government, ostensibly to feed children, starving children here in Minnesota, and none of the money ever got to them. And of the 51 people that were arrested for that crime, 48 of them were native Somalis. The entire thing is completely, utterly corrupt. And so now this guy, like Mamdani, has a chance of winning here. I don't think it's as big a chance as Mamdani has in New York. And I have the feeling that Fry and the moderate Democrats are going to pull this off. I think they will probably stop this guy. Where in New York now, this seems virtually certain that Mamdani is going to win. I don't know. It's a strange times. Strange times we're in, folks. I have to tell you. So meanwhile, with all that going down, with an election tomorrow, there's rumors circulating now that after the election tomorrow, that later this week, Nancy Pelosi is going to announce her retirement, or the fact that she won't run for re-election next year. She's 85 years old. She's been in Congress, I think, about 40 years. I didn't check that, and in that time, she has made her net worth has gone up about $100 million. Why? Stock trading. She has beaten every single stock trader and hedge fund in the United States when it comes to trading stocks to her profit. Unbelievable. Unfrickin' believable. And there's always laws every year. Somebody proposes passing a law to keep Congress people from trading stocks, and it always gets voted down. And and Nancy said, we have just as much right to make money as another American. Yeah, but you have all the information. There, this is true, folks. Members of Congress are legally exempt from insider trading laws. It doesn't apply to them, and they have all the insider information. That's the amazing thing. They have the information, and the law doesn't apply to them, so they can trade as much as they want, and they do. And therefore, then you made $100 million, $100 million, and she's 85 years old, and she's been in Congress for 40 years. I mean, this has got to stop, and this is not a partisan thing too. Chuck Grassley, from the senator from Iowa, he's 93. Now he's sharp as a tack, and that's been floated around with Biden forever, but he really is. The guy's still on top of his game. I don't care. He should get out. It doesn't matter. I like the guy. I like his policies. His mind is still completely cogent. Doesn't matter. Go home. So no, this is not a normal job. If you were a normal job, or let's say you was an entrepreneur and you started a company, God bless you, die at your desk. Stay there for 50 years. This is not what's going on here. This is not supposed to be a normal job. The reason we don't have term limits in the Constitution is because it never occurred that the founding fathers said anybody would want to make a whole career, a whole lifetime job out of this. That was not the idea. It never even occurred to them. That's the reason they didn't do it. They thought, well, no one's ever going to want to do that. Well, yeah, it turns out they do, because people are addicted to power. That's why. Go home. So Nancy Pelosi apparently is going to retire, or announce the fact she's not running for re-election, which means she'll still be with us a whole another year. Christ, God. All right, so it was announced by scientists today that we're 20 years away from being able to clone the Neanderthal caveman and bring it back to life. Yeah, you heard me right. Neanderthals crawling around New York City in the subway system. Neanderthals, yeah. Now, someone's brought up the obvious question here. Master of the obvious is, even if we can do this, does that mean we should? And the answer is no. We shouldn't do this. No, we do not need Neanderthals walking around. No one needs that. There was a show. It was on in the 1980s, I think, called The Last 100 Years, where Monty Markham played an gold rush miner from the 1800s who was frozen and actually brought back to life. There have been rumors that this has happened once or twice. I don't know if this is true or not. About they found frozen people and actually defrosted them. That's a long-standing rumor. I have no idea if that's true or not. But anyway, that was the show about. So this guy went from in his mind it was 1849. All of a sudden it's 1980, and he's got to figure out what's going on. Now you stop and think about it. In the first episode of the show, he shoots the television set because you would too. What are those little people doing in that box? Yeah. All right. And in another science news, now this is kind of fascinating. They have developed now contact lenses that let you see in the dark. Now, everyone's familiar with the night vision goggles and night vision binoculars, but these are contact lenses that do the same thing. And also, they don't run on any power. You don't need any electricity to go through them. Uh, thank goodness for your eyes. But yeah, it uses nanoparticles that bend light so that the un um, the invisible spectrum is visible to you wearing the contact lenses. That's kind of fascinating. And meanwhile, this last weekend, it was the worst. All right, I'm going to see and I get this straight. It was the worst Halloween weekend for movies in 32 years, and it was the worst October box office for the entire month ever. No one's going to the movies. Why? They suck. That's why. I mean, John Nolte writes about this in Breitbart. It's a thing of his. He loves movies. And he's right about the fact that all these movies, no one, first of all, you never hear about them. I read the list of the movies that came out last month. I barely heard of 2 or 3 of them, and there were like 15 on the list. It was unbelievable. I never heard of these movies before, and they were released. So yeah, no one's going to the movies, and is that a bad thing? I don't know. People, you're home with your Netflix, and then you got DoorDash, and you don't have to leave the house anymore, which I think is a terrible thing. I really think this is a serious problem in America that nobody goes out. There's the old joke on a Saturday Night skit about David Ortiz, the baseball player. He started uh, an a dating app called Go Outside, and somebody asked him, how does the app work? And he said, I'll tell you how it works. Go outside. There's people everywhere. Yeah, yeah, but not necessarily anymore. You go outside. There's not. I don't know. Are there people around? Maybe, probably not. No one's going to the movies. Why go to the movies? The last time I went to the theater with my wife was pre-COVID, so it's 2019, and we dropped $100 to see a movie we don't even remember what it was. And here's the amazing thing: it wasn't that it was bad; it was just so unremarkable we don't even remember. We walked out of the theater, and okay, all right, it was all right. I don't remember what it was. I don't know, $100, for parking, popcorn, a hot dog or whatever, and admission, and $100. We blew $100, and it's like, why should I do that? I have Netflix on my TV at home. I can watch all sorts of crap. It's like, and most of it's crap. That's true, but still, it's there. I watch a lot of a friend of mine and I are really onto this. Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee by Jerry Seinfeld. Now they haven't made it; they stopped making them, but they made a whole bunch of episodes, and they're very engaging. And as you might imagine, and it's really true. I like I like non-scripted conversational television. Because that's kind of what I do. So I'm kind of fascinated by that. It's amazing how people can and can't talk on their feet. It's really amazing. But yeah, no one's going to the movies and no one's going out anywhere else. And meanwhile, the show Ridiculousness on MTV has been canceled after 46 seasons, which actually ran 14 years. And I think they've done something like 1,400 episodes of this. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's pretty funny. I gotta admit, our friend Tim Conaway comes on regularly. He likes the show a lot. He talks, Tim's a television director, so he's kind of into this, and it's a very good show. And they basically run it nonstop on MTV right now, and they're going to stop producing it. They've done 1,400 episodes at this point. I don't know if you can tell which ones are new and which ones aren't. I don't know. It's one of those things. There's a rumor, very strong, that when Warner Brothers Discovery sells itself in the next few months, it's up for sale. That the new owners or the old owners, before they do that, where it's going to kill MTV altogether. Because right now the only thing really on MTV is Ridiculousness and the teenage mom thing. I can't remember what it's called, or the versions of that. That's it. They don't run any music videos anymore. They don't run any music shows. It's completely lost its original purpose. When, of course, it was a juggernaut and a game-changing thing when it started in 1982. It was it was basically the beginning and the end of commercial radio, which now, well, I hate to say it, but and the thing is, talk radio is still a fairly relatively vibrant medium. But music radio, why would you listen? Why would you do it? You can make your own um, playlist on Spotify, your own channel on Pandora, and there you go. Excuse me. And then related to that, this is completely the outline here. Uh, when they first started putting the screens in cars, the displays, everyone thought, well, you're going to need uh, both Apple and Android did an auto version of their operating systems because they said, well, people are going to want that. Well, it turns out no, people don't want that. What they want to do is hook their phone up to the car because then you don't have to program two things. And people have their phone programmed for their Spotify or Pandora or whatever the hell it is, or SoundCloud, and all anybody wants to do is run it through the sound system, and that it pretty much negated uh, both I can't remember what they're called, Apple Auto or Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, I think it is. No one cares. You just like, well, I just want to hook my phone up to the either Bluetooth or the wire, one or the other. Trey Wingo has been an announcer, commentator on ESPN for like forever, and he's retired now. But he says now he thinks the whole idea of ESPN, he called it, quote, pretty fucking stupid. Because he said there's not enough news, not enough sports news to run a channel 24 hours a day. And of course, he's right. Now, the thing I find fascinating is you get a guy like Stephen A. Smith who gets paid $20 million a year by ESPN, $20 million. And he's on First Take every morning. And the ratings for First Take, they may be good for ESPN, but that's the thing, everything's relative. In terms of the whole ecosystem of cable, they're not particularly good at all. Only about 400,000 people watch the show, which is basically kind of a failure rate. I mean, I've said this before. Up till now, recently, maybe it's being adjusted because so many people are dropping out of cable television. But anything under 1 million viewers is basically zero. I mean, right now, CNN is only drawing 400,000 people in prime time, which is you have to understand it's a stunning failure. It's unbelievable. That basically means no one's watching. That's what it means. And the sports talk is kept to a different standard because not that many people are considered interested. And the weird thing is people love the games. So do I watch the games too. Do I want to watch First Take? No, I don't. I don't even want to watch the pregame and the postgame. I don't even care about that. But yeah, so they pay him $20 million a year, and so he can mouth off, and he's pretty good at it, but still, $20 million, it's false. It's a false economy. Yeah. So, and people are getting paid a lot of money. I guess Pat McAfee's getting paid like $15 million or something like that. It's like it's kind of, I don't know, it just kind of fascinates me. But I'll tell you what does fascinate me. This is very, very cool. And that is this weekend, yesterday, Sunday, Cam Little of the Las Vegas Raiders set a new record for our longest field goal, 68 yards. He did. And I think, did he do that at Mile High? I can't remember. So I've talked about this before because I was a football player. As a matter of fact, I was the holder for my high school team, which I really loved because that basically technically made me a quarterback. But I spent hours. The kicker was a good friend of mine, and we spent hours and hours practicing, hours to make certain to get the whole thing flawless. It's not things take work, But in November 1970, Tom Dempsey of the Detroit Lions set the record for a 63-yard field goal. And talked about this before. The amazing thing is he didn't have an entire foot. It's like he kicked right-footed, but he didn't have any toes on his right foot. He had a special shoe, which might have helped him too. It's like that depends on how you look at this. But he kicked a 63-yard field goal to end and win this game, and I can't remember. I think they were playing the New Orleans Saints, if I'm right. And at 63 yards, the ball just barely cleared the crossbar. I mean, it basically tumbled right over it, like within an inch or two. So now Little, and I saw this on Sunday, he kicked a 68-yarder to set the new record. Also, it should be pointed out that Dempsey's record from 1970 held for 43 years. 43 years that record held. And then all of a sudden people are breaking it left and right. And that's basically what happened with kicking in football. The kickers now are so much better than they were even 20 years ago. It's mind-boggling. So Little, he kicks a 68-yarder, and it could have gone at least another 5 yards, I figure. I mean, it didn't even come close to coming to the crossbar. Unbelievable. Now, this same guy, Cam Little, in the preseason this year, kicked a 70-yarder, but preseason games are technically exhibitions, so it doesn't count. That did not count for the record books. But he kicked a 70-yard, and I've been saying that in the next 2 years, somebody's going to kick a 70-yard field goal. And it's not that people are not capable of this. Excuse me. It's that strategically, you as a team, as a coach, you don't want to put your team in that position, because if you miss, you're basically you're giving the other team a huge advantage, because the teams will pick up where the ball was placed, going the other direction. So at this point, you're 30 yards from the other end zone, and that's not a good thing. So this is basically only going to happen at the end of a half or the end of a game, basically, where there could be no response. But yeah, not only somebody was saying on TV, and I think it's true. We're going to see a 75-yarder. I mean, at this point, 70 looks easy. And what used to be a gimme, which was anything under 40 yards, is now anything under 50 yards. I just find the whole thing fascinating, especially having done that. Pretty amazing. So this thing going through the solar system called 3i Atlas that I've talked about, and I got to mention this because we post shorts now on TikTok and YouTube, and they get a lot of views. They get thousands of views. Thank you. I guess that's good. We had Joe Wortherton on, the constitutional scholar, last week, and him and I were both talking about this, about the fact that I guess people watching 2 minutes of an interview is better than not watching anything, but that's kind of not the point of what we're doing here, but we post them anyway, and people do watch them, But at any rate, the last Gymcast I did where I talked about the 3i Atlas stuff got a lot of comments on TikTok, and they were mostly negative to me. Mostly, it's like they were mostly this, and that is, it's just a big rock. Well, no. Here's the deal. It is not just a big rock. And the thing is, I'm not listening to you because I'm listening to astronomers. And there's a lot of astronomers have real questions about how this thing works, because now it's speeding it. Once again, the last report, which was last week, is that it's slowed down when it shouldn't have. Now it's speeding up when it shouldn't have. This just happened yesterday too. So this is a very, very unusual object. Now, maybe it is just a big rock, but if it is, nobody can understand why it's doing what it's doing. That's the crazy thing. The alternate thing is that it's like an unmanned alien probe or something like that. That it's under its own power. Which means if it's under its own power, it's definitely an extraterrestrial manufactured object, because that's all it could be. The vice president has gone on record now saying that he is absolutely determined to get to the bottom of what he calls the UFO mystery, and he thinks there's a chance that this has something to do with spirituality, and this gets really, really complicated because, he's talking about traditional religion, and I don't know if a lot of people are, but there does seem to be a spiritual component to all of this. Especially because people have studied this stuff, and I've talked about this too, about near-death experiences, all that sort of stuff. There seems to be some indication that all this stuff leads to the same place, but I don't know where that place is, and nobody else does either. So um, there's more and more scientific evidence all the time that, like, what, for lack of a better term, life after death is legitimate, is that it's real, and that is when you die, your soul does not die. There does seem to be some evidence of this now. Matter of fact, a lot. One is this Ian Stevenson's research at the University of Virginia about the little kids who said they were being reincarnated. I think I talked about this before. 70% of them, he interviewed 700 children, and this all happened in the 60s and 70s, pre-internet. So no one, including their family, could not have gotten any information off the internet. That said 700 kids under the age of 4, so they basically just learned how to talk, who said they were reincarnated. They were bugging their parents would call Stevenson because the kids were bugging their parents about the fact they wanted to go home. This wasn't their real home. And then they would say, mom and dad would say, well, where is your real home? And they would actually say, like Sacramento or something. They would actually say, and I'm married to so and so. And these are little kids saying this, that I'm married to this woman, And so they would call up Stevenson, and that Stevenson would visit them in person and interview them very specifically about, like, where did you live? What did you do? What was the name of your wife? Did you have any kids? Blah, blah, all these questions. In 70% of those instances of the 700 children, 70% of the information checked out. They would find it. And there's some very dramatic stories about this. One's about a kid who said he was an agent in Hollywood in the 1930s. He knew the way they took him to the building where he said his office was. Well, first of all, he told them the name of the firm, and that firm was real. This is stuff that these kids could not have known. They simply couldn't have known it. Now with the near death experiences, there's people all over the place who quote unquote come back to life. The question is, well, they were never really dead, but okay, that's fine. Like, it's near death; it isn't actual death. And they come back and they say about meeting with dead relatives and all that. The really weird part is the people who say they met with relatives that they didn't know were dead, that they thought these people were still alive, and it turned out they died in some interim, close to when this person had this experience. Or the fact that people say they wander around the hospital and they hear other conversations that they couldn't have heard, and then they repeat them back verbatim. This is all really, really crazy stuff. But a guy named, oh God, I'm not going to forget his name. Jesus Christ. Oh, this is terrible. I'm going to have to get back to you on this. Michael Newton. Michael Newton was his name. He was a researcher too, a doctor. And he interviewed, or actually he hypnotized hundreds of people to talk about their previous lives and near-death experiences. And he says that it appears, the complaint here that people have is that all of this, there's no standard, there's no proof, but it appears that everyone's trying to verbally describe something that they find indescribable. That seems to be the constant theme here. And so he hypnotized hundreds of people who talked about being on, quote unquote, the other side. And it appears the other side exists. But the question is, what is that? And where is it? And you wonder, is it just another dimension? As humans, we're wired to only respond to 3 physical dimensions. Time is a dimension too. And there's that too. So now there's a Polish physicist this summer, and I can't remember his name, who he has come to the conclusion or realization, or whatever you want to call it, that time itself is 3 dimensions, which means that gives us a 6-dimensional universe. And the really weird thing about that is that if he's correct, that solves almost all the currently unsolved problems in grand physics, in major physics, if he's right about this. So it's still being tested and has not been peer reviewed, or at least the last I heard anyway. So, yeah, but we can only physically, with our senses, we can only sense 3 dimensions. So if there is more dimensions, and strings theory says there's 10 or 11. If there's more dimensions, if stuff's going on there, is that where the UFOs are traveling to? Because we've, in many cases, still haven't figured out how they get past the light barrier, which does seem to be legit. But the thing is that it also appears that there's loopholes in that too. So the other thing that happened recently is that there's an app that you can get on your phone called Enigma, and it's a UFO reporting app, and it started in 2022, and many people have downloaded it. A lot of people use it, but they said in the last year alone, no, I'm sorry, since just August, so what, 3 months, they have received reports of over 9,000 sightings of objects within 10 miles of the coastlines of the east and west coast of the United States that people see underwater. 9,000. And this has been going on for years. So people saying, no, the UFOs, they're hiding underwater. And of course, you stop and think about this. If you're going to hide on Earth, where's the best place to do it? Because we don't know anything about the oceans. It's been brought up that we actually literally know more about Mars than we know about most of the oceans on the planet Earth. We don't know shit because it's so relatively hard to map that stuff. I mean, we have maps of the ocean floors from many places, all that sort of stuff, but there's so much so many things we've missed, and God knows. And we're not very good. Our submarines, the fastest things we have that go underwater, the fastest things are torpedoes, and they go 50 miles an hour. And these things are, there's U.S. submarines, military submarines that have recorded being passed by objects going 400 miles an hour. So that's, well, I bring that up for your interest. And finally, this, I would be real remiss if I didn't bring this up because I promoted this on the description for tonight's show. Scientists have figured out that for people who have certain lung conditions, that they can be trained to breathe through their butt. There's butt breathing. Japanese scientists figured this out. Of course, the Japanese did. Of course, they did, because they seem to be obsessed with rectum activities. That you can breathe through your butt. Who would have thought that, huh? That woman you hired in Singapore. Do you think she knows anything about that? No. Oh my God. All right, so I want to thank Corinne Clifford again for joining us. Just charming woman, very good talker. Thank you, appreciate it, Corinne. Appreciate your appearance. I don't know if we're not going to do a show tomorrow night. We got too much stuff going on here, and we don't have a guest booked. So, and I need the time. I do. It's like I have one person helping me on this now, and that's it's too much work to run the show, man. It just is. So we'll be back on Wednesday. Now we're taking Thursday off too. That's long planned. I have a bunch of medical tests I have to do. So, but yeah, I'm sorry, we're not running a show tomorrow. That's I'm working on this. But I want to thank you folks for watching. I really do. Really appreciate it a lot. Yeah, we post shorts on YouTube and TikTok. We post about 4 a day usually. And I think we're a couple days behind. I think it's been a day or two since we posted something. That's one other thing I have to do tomorrow too. I want to thank you folks for watching those. Not a lot of people watch the full shows, but thousands of people are watching these shorts. And so, like I said, I guess that's better than nothing. That's not really the idea, but sounds good. I'll go with it. Good night, Uncle Donnie, wherever you are. And good night to you, wherever you may be. We'll see you on Wednesday night, everybody. You take care, all right?